All right, welcome to another Spinato spin. Great to be here with you. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're doing great. Hope you're working on your New Year's resolutions. Don't quit. Don't give up on those resolutions. Keep focused. Keep going. This is usually the deadline. This is usually when things don't happen anymore for people with their resolutions. They forgot all about them. But don't you be like that. Be something a little different. Years ago, I'm going to tell a story, and this is going to apply to everything that we do for the rest of the year, maybe hopefully the rest of our life. The bottom line is, back in the day, there was a guy named Ben Franklin. I've talked about him before. Can't stop talking about a guy who was 30 years old in colonial times, was financially independent. What more do you want to know, right? He was a good guy, honest guy, hardworking guy, one of the first self-help gurus, okay? He wanted to make himself into a more improved individual. One time they asked him a simple question. They said, Ben, if they gave you 4 hours to chop down a tree, what would you do? How would you do it? What would be your game plan? He said, well, if I had to chop a tree down in 4 hours, that's really not a lot of time to chop a tree down. He said, but you know what would be real important? If I sharpened the axe. After every time I took a whack at it, I sharpened the saw. I sharpened it as sharp as I possibly could. So every time I went into that tree, I knew I was going to give it my best shot. I was going to give it my best effort. When Ben said that, that made some people ask questions. They go like, well, I still don't understand what you mean. What do you mean? How can you spend that much time? It takes a lot. You got to grind the wheat. You got to put a grindstone on the metal. You got to make sure it comes out just right. And then you got to be able to attack that tree. He goes, absolutely. And he also, you know what else he said too? It's a lesson in life. What do you mean, Ben? Well, here's what I meant. And here's what he meant. He said it's a lesson in life because you always have to work on yourself. You're not a finished product. You're something in progress. You're a work in progress. You've got to give yourself a chance to always take that step and work on yourself. You are the saw. You need to be sharpened every day. Well, what can we do to sharpen ourselves, Ben? Work on yourself. Find out the areas where you're not strong in and work on that. Find out the areas you are strong in and get better at that. Well, physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, all those things. Work on every aspect. He came up with his 13 virtues. And every month every 4 weeks, he worked on one virtue. And 13 times 4, for 4 weeks. Next thing you know, and within a year's time, he had worked on 13 virtues every year. He believed in that. Sharpen the saw. You got to be sharp. Got to be ready to go at all times. You never know. They always say the opportunity is not the whole thing. It's what you do with your opportunity. Life promises only two things. These are the only promises we'll ever get in our whole life. Number one is a hard time. And number one is an opportunity. And number two is a hard time. That's all we're going to get. That's all we're promised. It's what we do with it from then on out. And that's what Ben talked about. Ben wanted you to understand that you got a chance to do something amazing. You've been given a gift. You've been given something that the Creator has created, and you are it. You've got to get stronger every day and put yourself in position to do things that are big and big things that you want, things that you can see in your mind that you want to accomplish. Now, here's another thing that Ben talked about, made a lot of sense too, was that you got, and this comes from Ray Kroc, and Ray Kroc got this idea too, the founder of McDonald's. He said, I want everyone that's part of my organization to look sharp and act sharp. Well, that's what we're talking about, being sharp. Don't lose your edge. You ever hear that expression? That's where that comes from too. You don't lose your edge. You keep your sharpness. You keep your focus. You always want to be ready for battle. You want to do something incredible. Get ready to do something incredible. You want to become somebody fantastic. Study fantastic things. Study great people. Put your mind in those people's heads. Pretend you're Ben Franklin for a day. Pretend you're somebody to accomplish something you want to accomplish for a day. Start thinking like that person. Here's another thing too about being sharp. No one's gonna follow a dull, disillusioned, daggum crybaby, right? We all can agree on that, right? Like all these half-butted politicians out there, the mealy mouths, the ones that don't really want to say something, they don't want to offend this person. No, that's not you. You got to step out there and do something. You got to be sharp. You got to be ready to go. I've seen these advertisements for certain jobs. They want a sharp looking person. What do you think they mean by that? They want somebody that's refined, cut on the edge, not afraid to keep working on themselves and working on themselves so they can get better and better every day. This all ties together with sharpening the saw. It ties into Tony Robbins and Kanai. Constant, never ending improvement. That's where we want to be. In Japan, war-torn Japan, they had all those problems after the war because they were totally decimated by the Allies. And what went on out there, they couldn't get anything done. And William Demings was the general out there, and he said, if you could just get better, a little better every day, you'll have success and you'll pull yourself out of this situation. That's funny. The Japanese took hold of what he said. They said that's an incredible philosophy for us to live by. And at the end of the time, at the end of that period, when Demings was ready to leave, they started giving out the William Demings Award to the citizens that showed that effort every day and improved every day. Why don't you be that person? Why don't you challenge yourself that way? Say, I want to win that William Demings Award. I want to be that person that gets a little bit better every day. If you try to get better, a little bit better every day, all of a sudden you're going to start going in a totally different direction, won't you? If you turn 1 degree to the left every day, or a little bit more to the left, a little more to the left, you're going in the other direction. So your opportunity to turn your whole life around in 30 days is right there for you. Sharpen your saw, be determined, and be the kind of person that people want to follow. I'll say it again. Nobody wants to follow a dull, disillusioned, daggum crybaby like all of those half-butted politicians out there. Bunch of mealy-mouthed people that don't want to do something. Stick with your resolutions, stick with what you want to do, and put up with yourself what you can, and do the best you can all the way through. Spinato Spin, great to talk to you. Have yourself a great night, everybody. Take care now.